What is the word, Chicago baseball fans? It's your boy Big Borowski back for another episode of Chicago Cubs Central. Hey, it feels good to be back, man. It feels good to be back after a rough couple of weeks, but we're here, baby. Go ahead, hit us up at 773-389-6954 or Chicago Baseball Central at gmail.com. We're going to get right into the pregame show right after the intro.
To the number one place for all Chicago baseball. Let's start the show.
Man. The month of May has not been kind to the Chicago Cubs. They are in what I would call their most difficult stretch of the season. Now, they are sitting at one game below 500, and they are 5.5 games out of first place. But when the month started, they were sitting right there in position to overtake first place from the Milwaukee Brewers. They were in a virtual tie with them for the first week or so of the month, and then basically fell apart completely fell apart since then. So it'll be good for the Cubs to end the month of May on a high note versus the Cincinnati Reds. Cincinnati Reds are now in last place in the NL Central. The St. Louis, stinking St. Louis Cardinals have overtaken the Cubs for second place in the division. And they said they had a game above the Cubs after taking two out of supposedly three, but they didn't play 3 games. But they did take 2 games versus the Cubs over the weekend. And then the Cubs lost 3-4 versus Milwaukee. And prior to that, they lost another 3-4 versus Pittsburgh. You guys get the drift. I don't think the Cubs have won a series since early in the month when they played Pittsburgh. I believe that was the last series that they won. They took 2 out of 3 versus Pittsburgh in the second week of the month. And since then, they've lost every single series or at least got a split. And right now, they're 2-8 in their last 10 and sitting in third place. So if they're going to turn things around, it'll start getting wins versus your division. They play Cincinnati 7 out of the next 10 games or 11, 12 games. And then they also play the White Sox, and all of us know that the White Sox could be a definite palate cleanser for teams that are looking to start winning, in their season. Earlier this year, the Minnesota Twins were 7 or so games under 500. They played the White Sox 7 times and went on the longest win streak that they've had this season in the process to make turn their season around. So hopefully the Cubs can get going versus the Cincinnati Reds and then play the White Sox and then the Cincinnati Reds again before they have to play the streaking St. Louis Cardinals after they go on the road to Tampa Bay. St. Louis comes to town. So the Cubs are going to have to play hard in the month of June. So since I last saw you guys, man, it's been rough. Javier Assad took his first loss of the season, and so did Shota Imanaga. And honestly, Shota Imanaga sitting at 5-1 is a tragedy. He should at least have 8, 9 wins. But the Cubs have failed him in regard to providing him with proper run support. My man's got to have at least 3 or 4 no decisions. With all the effort that he puts out there, he deserves to be playing for a team that is going out there and putting him in position to win. So I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comments how y'all feel about so far the first, 100 games or so of the season. Not 100, first 60 something games of the season. And how you feeling about Craig Counsell? He hasn't really showed up against the Brewers, like as far as his managing is concerned. The Cubs have been struggling against the Brewers. They've been struggling against the division overall. Can they get it going against the Cincinnati Reds? Now, Pittsburgh gave the Cubs some business already. St. Louis has already given the Cubs the business. Milwaukee has already given the Cubs the business. And here we are looking at the Cincinnati Reds, and they're not going to hold up on the Cubs either. So yeah, we're gonna get into a few numbers, a few concerns with the Cubs. But today, they got a chance. They have an opportunity with Javier Assad on the mound versus Ashcraft we're gonna see what the Cubs can get done. It's gonna be a good game at the friendly confines, and then the White Sox right after that. So the Cubs can find themselves right back in the thick of things in the NL Central, or at least above 500. Now they are solid at home. 15-11 isn't the greatest record, but being at home can be helpful. The Cubs are favored to win this game today, but again, they have been struggling pretty bad. Now Javier Assad has been solid, 4-1 in the season, 2.17 ERA in 58 innings pitched, only giving up 44 hits while striking out 54 to 23 walks and only giving up 6 home runs. Now, the phenom, Ellie De La Cruz, I haven't really been paying too close attention to the Reds. So at this point in the season, you don't know who's healthy and who's not. But if this kid is healthy, he is, a must see TV. 9 home runs for him, only a 250 batting average, but he does have 24 RBIs, and I'm pretty sure he got a bunch of steals, a bunch of stolen bases. Yep, 31 stolen bases already in 60 games, 31 stolen bases. He's on pace to shatter whatever the record is. I think 70 from Ronald Acuna Jr. last season. And he's going up against Chicago Cubs' very own phenom of their own with Christopher Morel, 10 home runs, only a 200 batting average with 198 and 35 RBIs, though. So we're looking to see if the Cubs can take care of business today, man. Seriously, because it's time to turn things around. The injury list isn't what it was to start the month of May. You got all your main pitchers, all your main players back. And at the end of the day, you got to produce. You have to produce. Players like Dansby Swanson, Cody Bellinger, Seiya Suzuki have to produce. So it is what it is. The Cubs have been struggling, and they're looking to get back into their winning ways. The way they started the season looked like they were going to have a strong season. Let's just say we want them to keep it going because nobody wants to watch two bad baseball teams, and that's what I've been doing lately. It's been tough watching the White Sox. It's been tough watching the Cubs lately. I'm just going to be honest. Even though Ben Brown looked really solid in his potential no hitter the other day, you can't have situations where you're just winning 1 out of 3 and one out of 4, 2 out of 4. You're going to find yourself in for a long, long season if the Cubs keep playing the way that they've been playing lately. So, what y'all think? Do you think it's Craig Counsell? I think he's still adjusting to his new roster, trying to get these guys going. But hey, the Cubs have been struggling, man. It's just the fact of the matter. They have been struggling. You got major pieces that aren't producing. It's going to lead to the losses that you've been seeing. Cody Bellinger struggling with runners in scoring position. Michael Busch, after that torrid start to his career, has come crashing down to earth and hasn't been hitting the long ball the way that he started. Ian Happ has been, his typical self. Seiya Suzuki hurt a little bit, only 32 games in, so he's going to have to get into that rhythm. But again, he has to do better. I've seen him look pretty bad in some at-bats over the last couple of weeks. Dansby Swanson, my goodness, bro. Like, what needs to be said about this guy? It just doesn't seem like he's engaged at all. Mike Tauchman's been solid, though. You still got Jan Gomes, Nico Horner, Patrick Wisdom had opportunity to put the Cubs get some runs last night. In fact, Dansby Swanson came really, really, really close to getting a grand slam in that bat yesterday that would have put the Cubs, that would have tied the games or put the Cubs up, but he came just short. And that's what's been happening to the Cubs. They've been coming up just short within feet of hitting home runs. I was at the Atlanta game last week, and it's like every time Atlanta wanted to hit a home run into the wind or into left field or whatever, they were able to get it done. But the Cubs just keep coming up short, getting caught at the warning track, getting caught at the wall. So maybe they need to start hitting for contact as opposed to just hitting for power because it's been biting them in the ass, to be frank. So yeah, we're getting ready for the Cubs to start a series versus Cincinnati, in which they play them twice in the next week or so. You got three games set, and it's interrupted by a 2-game set versus the White Sox, and then 4 more games versus the Reds. And the Cubs need to win the majority of these games if they want to have a chance in this division, because their arch rival, St. Louis, is starting to hit their stride. Their other arch rival, the Milwaukee Brewers, have already hit their stride. And both of these teams have taken games against the Cubs. Pittsburgh also, even though they haven't overtaken the Cubs in the standings, they are right behind them and they've beaten the Cubs quite a few times. Now, I'm saying all this because with the balanced schedule, you don't see teams the way that you usually see them. You don't see them at the rate that you did. You got to win the games versus your teams in the division, because if you don't, come September, tiebreaker situations can bite you in the ass. And it's exactly what happened to the Cubs last season when they missed the playoffs by one game because they couldn't beat the teams in their division. So, what are they going to do in the month of June? It's important. Hey, Cincinnati, take 2 out of 3 or win all three. Got to beat the White Sox twice. At home, there's no reason for the Cubs to lose to the Chicago White Sox. Point blank, period. Put your foot on their necks, even though that's my squad. Cubs got to beat them. They lose to the White Sox twice. White Sox fans are going to treat it like the World Series, and they're going to talk trash as if they're not a team that only has 15 wins so far in the season. Cincinnati again on the road for a 4-game set, and then you go to Tampa Bay, and then an important 3-game set versus St. Louis, and I think that makeup game is going to be in there somewhere as well. So probably 4 games versus St. Louis to get them back for what they just pulled off, taking 2 games from the Cubs. And then they got San Francisco going to the New York Yankees, and then San Francisco's on the road, and then Milwaukee to close out the month. This month is really going to prove if the Chicago Cubs are contenders or pretenders. We know how important the month of June is where you can hit your stride, where you can start going on some runs, getting some wins that you don't usually get. So hey, last season in the month of June, the Cubs took off and started to play better all the way through the London game, and then they stayed in the hunt or in or around first place for most of the season until the end of the season. So we're looking for the Cubs to do the same thing. Take this month to go ahead and take care of business. Um, Now, Cody Bellinger is on a hit streak, two hits in 4 straight games. Let's see if he can keep it going. He's working his way back from injury as well. And y'all already know, hit me up in the chat. Let me know what y'all thinking about this Cubs team. Can they turn things around? Today, you got to find, they're going to face a guy, Graham Ashcraft. He does throw a lot of fastballs, a lot of sliders, and a lot of sinkers. His changeup is probably his weakest pitch, so the Cubs could definitely get some action with this guy. Now, his ERA is up there, too. His ERA is up there, and the Cubs got an opportunity to put some runs on the board. Lately, they've been struggling to do that. Even yesterday, when they kept fighting back, eventually they ended up losing, I believe, 10-6 or something like that. So, hey, you got to put runs on the board and keep them from scoring. It's up to the bullpen to take care of business. Ashcraft was 4-3 with a 4.67 ERA, 54 innings pitched, 59 hits, 43 strikeouts, and 19 walks, giving up 8 home runs. So you know you can get hits off of this guy, get on base, and take care of business. Otherwise, it's going to be a long afternoon. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of seeing the Cubs playing losing baseball. Losing baseball for real, for real. It's not fun to do, not fun to see. We all knew the White Sox were going to be bad, but it's time for the Cubs to take care of business. Justin Steele is working his way back from injury. So is Jameson Taillon. And these 2 guys are going to be important to this pitching staff, so that the rest of these guys who've been moved forward into the lineup, into the rotation, in and out of the rotation, can get comfortable in their roles. So the Cubs are going to have to stay healthy. That's another issue that they've been facing, just not being healthy. Injuries happen to all teams, but it seemed like the injury bug hurt the Cubs. Now, my guys, Jonathan Hood over on ESPN mentions all the time, it's better to have this type of stuff happen in the beginning of the season rather than in the end of the season. So the things that the Cubs have experienced to start the season are most likely going to be beneficial to them toward the end of the season, while other teams are probably going to be nursing injuries from big name players. It already happened to the Atlanta Braves. They lost Ronald Acuna Jr. for the season. And obviously, we're not wishing any injuries on anybody, but that's a part of the grind of baseball, the dog days of summer. So the Chicago Cubs got work to do, and it starts today versus the Cincinnati Reds. I'm excited for this series because we want to see, can the Cubs end the month on a high note, and can they start till June and go into June and start winning series? To go an entire month winning only one series, I believe, Let me look at this real quick while I'm talking to you guys. I think they only won one series in the month of May, and we'll go all the way back to the beginning. So technically, the New York series was like at the end of April, but they did lose they lost 2 out of 4 versus the Yankees. Then they won 2 out of 3 versus Milwaukee. I think that's the only series they beat Pittsburgh too, so they won 2 series. 2 out of 3 versus Milwaukee. Lost 2 out of 3 versus versus San Diego. Won 2 out of 3 versus Pittsburgh, and then they lost 2 out of 3 versus Atlanta. 3 out of 4 versus Pittsburgh. Another 2 out of 3 versus Atlanta, and then they lost 2 versus St. Louis, and another 3 out of 4 versus Milwaukee. So there you have it. Just 2 series wins in the entire month of May. That's not going to cut it for a team that had lofty expectations coming into the season. Everybody was expecting the Cubs to be as good or better than they were last year. You got a new manager. You got Cody Bellinger back. You picked up Shota Imanaga. You picked up Michael Bush. You brought back your core. You're keeping Christopher Morel on the everyday roster to provide that umph, that power, that pop in the lineup. You still got Ian Happ. You still got Nico Horner. You still got Dansby Swanson. You still got Seiya Suzuki, who came into the season with MVP aspirations, according to the odds makers. So Chicago Cubs have been struggling, but they can turn it around. How can they do so? One, Craig Counsell is going to have to take care of business. He's going to have to make sure that his rotations are razor sharp, that his pitching rotations are on point, that his defensive substitutions are on point, that his pinch hitting situations are on point. The Cubs were 18-12 to start the season, averaging 5 runs a game with an OPS of 706. They've dipped in every single category in May, 10-17 for the month of May. 3.5 runs scored, OPS of 643. They're going to have to do better. You can't, well, obviously you can. They started the season pretty hot, and now they're playing 500 baseball. And honestly, they're playing less than 500 baseball simply because it's just been really bad over this last couple of weeks. They haven't won a series since the second week of May. Justin Steele and Ben Brown are also scheduled maybe to start the next 2 games, and we already know that Justin Steele is capable of being great. But hey, he hasn't been good since he's been back from injury. And Ben Brown has been a solid young arm. I think he was expected to start in the bullpen, but he's been a pretty solid starter. And of course, Javier Assad has been basically lights out all season. Basically lights out. Even when he's been bad, he's been getting out of jams. He's been striking people out. He's been popping people up. I like what I've been seeing for Javier Assad. Frankly, I did not expect Javier Assad to be this good, especially in the starting position, considering that he was a bullpen pitcher as well. But with the injuries to Justin Steele and Jamison Tyone to start the season, he had to step up and take care of business, and he has done so. So let's see. Can the Cubs get a win today? They should. I'll be headed to work, so I won't be able to chill with you guys for the game. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Cubs versus White Sox. Expect me to be right here, as long as it's not like Chicago Sky games, because I do share this with my brothers from the Chi-Town Sports Network. And the Chicago Sky have been buzzing in the city of Chicago and throughout the WNBA with Angel Reese and company, Cardosa as well. So make sure y'all check out my guys on Chicago Sky Central with C-Dub doing live calls, Hayes and Steve-O Speaks with your daily content updates. And of course, the rest of the Chi-Town Sports family, Chicago Bulls, Bear, Blackhawk Central, NBA Central, and the Shot Bulls podcast with the Cognac Gang. All right, you guys, I appreciate y'all for kicking it. The game is about to start in about 5 or 10 minutes. I do have to head out for work, but I want to come on here and say what's up to the guys, say what's up to the gang, guys and ladies. Go ahead, like, comment, share, and let us know who you think in the comment section is going to win this game. You think the Cubs can start a new streak of playing good baseball, or will they continue to play pretty subpar baseball? The month of May was atrocious. So let's end the month on a high note, Chicago Cubs fans. I'm your boy, Big Bro. I'm going to holler at y'all next time. Peace.